If you're looking for a new way to support the podcast, check out Dubby.gg, an energy supplement company trying to make a difference. There you can use code SIDEMISSION for 10% off your order. Thank you to Dubby for sponsoring this episode, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. I, like always, am your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by just one of the boys today, Matt Beck, and we are talking about another Nintendo Switch 2 release. That's kind of your hint that that's what we're talking about because it's only Matt here. He's going to be on every one of these episodes, just like I am, but I'm here because I have to be. I don't get to pick and choose like Matt does apparently, or Kyle for that matter. I don't know why I'm spicy right now. I apologize. I don't know where that came from, but nonetheless.
He was on Hot Ones.
I swear to God, I don't know where any of that just came from. Just that came from the depths of my soul right there. But
he needs some milk.
He needs some milk for real though. Nonetheless, today we're talking about the newest release. Well, not really the newest release anymore, considering when we're recording this. But we're talking about Hyrule Warriors: Age of Imprisonment today, and Matt, safe to say, one thing that the Switch 2 releases have been since the system launched back in June, I feel like the word is consistent. That's the word, is like the releases have been very consistent. Mario Kart World was fantastic, a great Mario Kart game. Donkey Kong Bonanza is a Game of the Year contender. And in a lot of people's eyes, should win Game of the Year. And in a lot of idiots' eyes, they think that if it wins, it means the whole thing is rigged. Nonetheless, we've also had great games such as Pokemon Legends ZA. Kirby Air Riders has come out. It is really good. We'll be reviewing that one shortly as well. Age of Imprisonment is another one that I feel like, Matt, lines up with that. It's very, very good. Is this going to be a game that sells a lot of Switch 2s? Probably not. But if you're looking for a new game to play, I feel like gameplay-wise, this is the best a Warriors game has felt on a Nintendo console in a long time, Matt.
Yeah, the Switch 2 absolutely helps with the performance issues that originally I had with Age of Calamity back on the Switch, which is, don't get me wrong, it is a phenomenal game. It is a fantastic addition to the Breath of the Wild lore, but this game is considered canon, so this is actual events that occurred. So if you played Tears of the Kingdom, that you know that Zelda ends up going back into the past and meeting her ancestors, which was Queen Sonia and King Rauru, who are the original founders of Hyrule. And the game does such a good job of telling that story that we missed out. Now, in Tears of the Kingdom, you got little bits and pieces of the story of what was currently going on with Zelda while Link was, doing his thing. Zelda went back out to the past, and we get to find out the origin of, the rise of Ganondorf. And this game does a fantastic job of storytelling, as well as introducing new characters who I think fit in perfectly in the Zelda universe. They have some fantastic ones, like I love Calamo.
Calamo.
Calamo. I said it wrong. Okay. That's great.
It just kind of fits with the theme of Side Mission. It happens.
It does a lot. I also think that was really cool that we got to look at a little bit more of the Hyrule characters like Typhon. I think he's really cool. There's a few other ones. Also, the fact that we get introduced to the original, heroes that King Rauru, basically gave the tears to, which gives them these powers, which is a fantastic cast of characters from the Gerudo, the Zora, the.
You almost said the Zonai there, and that's very
Zonai.
Funny.
Hey, that's in the game too.
It's in the game. It's in the game. So you wouldn't have been too far off.
Yeah, the Rito and the Gorons, like they're all here, and they all play a big part in the story.
Yeah, I think that the inclusion of essentially the four sages, like that they were referred to in Tears of the Kingdom, I do think that the inclusion of them here is good, and I do think that the game as a whole does a really good job of being kind of that prequel or that backdrop of Tears of the Kingdom. Like we know what all was happening in Hyrule in present day in Tears of the Kingdom. This does serve as a good backdrop for all that, for all the things that Zelda went through and what she experienced in the time that she was in the past. So I do like the game for that. And then the thing that impresses me the most, and I remember when I first played it and you were watching me play it, you hadn't gotten the game yet, and you were like, the thing that is most impressive is the performance. The performance is beyond impressive because Age of Calamity, while a really, really good game, did often struggle with frame rate. It often struggled with performance and just basically, I had that game crash on me multiple times because the Switch just could not handle everything that was going on the screen at one time. This game does not have that issue because the Switch 2 is significantly more powerful. So I do think that the gameplay, I said it when I did the intro, I think this is the best a Warriors game has felt on a Nintendo console, maybe ever. Like, this might be the best that it's felt ever to play a Warriors game on a Nintendo console. So I think that works out very well in this game's favor. It's one of those where the performance does not scare you off from playing, like some games on the Switch did. Looking at you, Scarlet and Violet. But I know, a little bit of shade at them now. But getting into the actual game itself beyond the gameplay, because the gameplay I do think is 90% of why a lot of people play these kinds of games. I do think there's a very fair criticism of this game that I've seen pretty consistently across the board. And I do kind of feel this way myself. And that is that while most people play Muso games like this for the gameplay, this is also The Legend of Zelda, and the story has to be pretty good as well. I do feel like the story maybe leaves a lot of things unanswered, and it doesn't answer as many questions as I think any big Zelda fan would like. I feel like a lot of what we see is busy work, and I do think that that hurts the story at a certain point. Like, there are significant events, don't get me wrong, and I'll go ahead and say spoiler alert so we can go ahead and talk about a few in particular. Like, when Ganon kills Queen Sonia, that is a highlight of the early game. That scene is the highlight of the early game because Zelda and Sonia think that they have figured out the imposter Zelda, because they've disguised themselves. And even though they have figured it out, it doesn't matter because Queen Sonia ends up dying anyways. And it is an emotional, heart-wrenching moment that gets the story going into high gear. And then I feel like it just drops off of a cliff for several hours after that. There's not really anything that keeps that momentum going for me. And that is a little frustrating because I was really enjoying the story up to that point, and then I kind of felt like, okay, now I'm just doing a lot of busy work. Matt, what did you think about the story as a whole? We'll get to the inclusion of a new character and basically what that character represents to this game. We'll get to that in a minute because I know that is another criticism that people have had, and I think that that is fair as well. We'll get to that in a minute. What did you think of the story as a whole?
I mean, so it's like they did have, something set up, and it did feel like, I actually do agree with you that I definitely feel like that the story, it was at its highest when, the betrayal of Ganondorf happened, and, he takes over, and basically King Raru, Zelda, and everyone is, taken out of Hyrule, and then you see the map basically become his area, and then with each moment, each battle, you're slowly taking over more zones, which I think is cool. It's been done, and that as you further progress through the story, and you're opening up the new zones, and it introduces these little side missions, and I think that there's a lot going on. But I agree with you on the fact that there just feels like it just feels like it's a lot of work for really no payoff, especially because if you beat Tears of the Kingdom, you know what happens. You know what Zelda does in the past, where she swallows her sacred stone and becomes the dragon. And that's the only way that she was able to, make it all the way back to the events of Tears of the Kingdom, and for Link to get the Master Sword, brought back after it was basically corrupted.
Yes.
But it was absolutely a lot of filler, and that was another one of my complaints in this game is the very first Hyrule Warriors game had a mass exodus of characters that we play through from Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, and even a new line of Zelda, Link, and everybody. This game, it does have characters I like, obviously Zelda and Raru, and even Minoru, but there's just a bunch of nobodies. Yeah. These new characters who are just part of the race of the Zora.
Or like our Hylian
Orons.
Warriors, or I kind of felt the same. Where it's like it feels like a generic soldier number 2. It feels like that.
Exactly. Like they get cool abilities and everything like that, but the more that I find of them, especially with the fact that I'm trying to keep up with all of their personal quests, the more that builds up, it starts to like I start losing interest in trying to achieve like all of this to get their little extra story that you can unlock once you 100% their side quests. Um, but it's just like I don't care about a lot of their characters. Like the sages are cool, and the characters from Hyrule are cool, but then it just stops there for me. And it just they don't really do much for the story outside of giving more extra missions for you to do to make the game longer.
Yeah, I do think that's the structure of this game is often kind of my concern when it comes to Warriors games. Is you mentioned obviously seeing the map and being able to see the territories that you're helping to liberate or take over, and
Yes.
that has always been the goal of Warriors games: is taking over territory. Is it's a war basically, and you're trying to take over and establish your footing in each of these territories. That is good, and I like it for the progress, the sense of progression that you get when you see that map start to light up green everywhere after it was entirely red at the start is really good. Like the sense of progression, I think is very rewarding, and I like that a lot. It's why I've gotten into the Warriors games. Like when me and Thacker reviewed Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes a few years ago, I said that was a game that I really thoroughly enjoyed because it told a really good story, but I also felt like everything that the side quests did, it felt like that mattered to the main story. It felt like that mattered quite a bit. Yet in this game, where I feel like it should matter even more, I can't help but feel like it was just busy work so that you could get upgrades for each character.
Yeah.
And the problem I think with a lot of that is, Matt, is some of them are not even levels. They're not even battles. They're just menus that say, hey, do you want to give these materials to this group?
Yeah.
So that way you can get this upgrade. And it's like, okay, that's cool. That's simple. But like that felt like that was like a third of the side activities was just me clicking A on a menu.
Yeah.
And I didn't love that. I didn't love that. Like I was very much like, I would almost rather go and do battles for these people and have those actually matter instead of just clicking A through a menu and getting an extra heart or getting an extra combo attack. Like, I don't know. That to me was kind of a buzzkill. Now, the other fair criticism, which I have to point out is, I want to make this very clear. I think both of us really enjoyed this game. I think both of us really, really liked this game. I do think taking a step back from it a little bit, you see a lot of these flaws a little bit more clearly because I loved the game at first and was probably ready to give it a 9 at first. I'm probably closer to an 8 now, if I'm being honest. But nonetheless, the other big issue, Matt, Calamo is a lot of fun to play as. A Korok that has the abilities he is, that is awesome. I loved that. The introduction of the Night Construct. And quite literally, all the construct is a Link stand-in. That's all it is. Looks just like Link. That's all it is a Link stand-in. And I get it. There's a story behind it, and it should explain all of that. Forgive me, I've beaten a lot of the game. I have not finished the game. I plan on finishing the game. But my issue is it feels like they just had him in there because they're like, players are going to hate not playing as Link at a certain point. And I think, especially after the success of Echoes of Wisdom, you probably should have had more faith in this game to be able to just play as Zelda and the other characters, where Link not being a big presence was not an issue. That's at least what I think. I don't know what you think, Matt, but that's just what I believe.
I definitely felt shoehorned in. Like they felt like that they had to have some variant version of Link, and I mean it's cool. He does get some really nice little moments here, especially once he has this battle in the Gerudo Valley against the evil construct that Ganondorf's powers created. And he gets like this little moment where they kind of give him this like outfit along with Calamo.
Yeah.
And I think that the moments where they kind of do this, his flight ability, they have these levels where you're flying, and it's like kind of goes to like that on rail shooter like in Star Fox. I think that those are really cool little moments. But I mean, I played enough of the story to think that, I didn't necessarily think that the construct was needed. It just, once again, it just felt like we had to have Link somehow in this game, because clearly you can't play as Link because he is currently doing all of the stuff over in Hyrule in the events Tears of the Kingdom. But I mean, also can't talk, so that's kind of another thing where he's just super silent all the time, and Calamo's basically, speaking for him. But I mean, I think the customization with him is really cool. He can use
Yeah.
different types of weapons, single-handed, two-handed, spears, and things like that. Like, there's a lot of uh, variety in how he plays, and I really think it's kind of really cool that you get the proper setup, because you can use Zonai devices to do elemental attacks, which is something I wanted to mention, which I think is really cool because the game does a really good job of making you feel like you are playing Tears of the Kingdom with other characters. Like, it doesn't feel like a different game in that sense. Like, the way the characters interact, the way that they play, definitely it feels like a Muso game. At the same time, it feels like a Zelda game, if you know what I mean.
No, I
Um,
agree 100%. I think you're right.
and one of the things that I liked about how they did tie in with the constructs, attacks, is that they merged together with the Zonai devices that you have, from bombs to like where he can fling fire and water, and like it's cool what they did with him. As far as the story goes, it just felt to me like, it's Link.
A little hollow. It's a little hollow. The way
It's a little, yeah,
I'll give you a good comparison. I think, at least I think it's a good comparison. This the inclusion of the construct to me felt a lot like the inclusion of the Joker in Arkham Knight. It felt very much like, our people are going to enjoy this if Mark Hamill is not in this. And I very much feel like, WB said, no, they're probably not going to like it. It feels like Rocksteady said, no, people are not going to enjoy Arkham Knight nearly as much if the Joker's not in it. This one, it very much feels like Nintendo and Koei Tecmo very much said, if Link is not in this game, are people going to enjoy it? Probably not. It feels like they said that, but again, we have another game that came out a year ago where Link is not that heavy of a presence in the game, where you play as Zelda in Echoes of Wisdom, and it was very successful. So to me, I just, it kind of confuses me as to why they felt that was necessary. Now, beyond all that, that is legitimately probably my only two criticisms in the game. I think the game is damn solid outside of that.
yeah,
Like, I think the level design is really good. I think the performance is really good. I think the variety of characters that you play as that are not just your faceless grunts and soldiers, I think they're amazing. I love playing as Kia from the Sora. The Zora. I
yeah,
loved her.
yeah,
Loved Kia. Loved her abilities. And we haven't even talked about it, but one thing that I've loved playing more and more of this game and playing with new characters is all of these like team up abilities that you get, where you max out your gauge and you can,
yes,
basically
yes,
combine two characters' powers, and they each do like a specific attack, and it's different, it's unique. There's a lot of variety in them as well. Like the one where Minoru and Roru combine, and they're basically blasting those two Kamehamehas at all the enemies. Like, I loved that personally. Or if Minoru and Zelda combine, she gets her construct and Zelda starts to control it, and you
yeah.
just start smashing everybody with it. Like, I think that stuff is awesome. And I think that, again, it makes the combat fresh in a genre where it's very easy for the combat to get very mundane and very redundant. Very easy for it to just get repetitive. So I do
Yes.
think they did a good job in that regard, Matt. Of the combat is very fresh. No two characters feel the same. At least no two significant characters feel the same. I don't know about you. My favorite character to play as so far is 100% Minoru. I love all of the abilities that Minoru has.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The use of the Zonai devices, like the type of things that you can build with the Ultra Hand and Tears of the Kingdom, like giant freaking monster truck like thing. Um, when she uses constructs themselves as a defense, like it was. She definitely did have my favorite outside of maybe Alamo, because he has more elemental attacks. So he's also a lot of fun to play as, and I definitely love I love his sync attack with the Knight Construct, because basically the Knight Construct will transform into his flying mode, and then Calamel will be up in there and then just throwing different elemental bombs on the enemies, which is a great way to exploit their weakness. Outside of a couple of other ones, I think that those two are my favorite.
And I do think that there are a bunch of really cool characters that I think even the ones that are like, your face strengths, like I think Kino is a lot of fun to play as. I think Kino I really enjoyed playing as. I think there are some good to all that, but it does feel like at a certain point, or especially early on, it feels like you're getting a few too many of those guys, and then you're having to manage trying to level all of them up. And then you bring one in that's slightly under leveled and he gets decimated, and it's a whole ordeal. So I think that's the only thing is I would have been okay if there was only like one or two of them. I think the fact that there's like 5 or 6 of them is a bit extreme.
Mhm.
But other than that, I legitimately think this is a very, very good game. Again, I said I'm sitting at about an 8 for it. I think that's a fair score. I know that this game came out in a time when I think it was this, Legend ZA, and then what other game was it that came out that all got like 78s, like 3 in a row or whatever on Metacritic or whatever? I can't remember off the top of my head what it was. I figured you would know.
I mean, you're not talking about Air Riders, are you? Because that.
No, it wasn't Air Riders.
Oh, Drag X Drive. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. No, you are a bad person for that. Well, either way, I do feel like Age of Imprisonment does continue a very consistent trend of games being really, really good on the Switch 2. And spoiler alert, I think that Kirby Air Riders has continued that trend as well. We will be reviewing that another day. So, Matt, do you have anything else you want to add before we call it an episode?
No.
Thank God, because I'm tired of speaking. I'm tired of speaking, so thank God. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of Side Mission. You can follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can check us out on Facebook as well at Side Mission Podcast. For the boys, there's one of you here. For Matt, I'm Rusty. Thanks for listening. Get the fuck out.